SID Weekly Report. I'm Daniel Gallegos, Sports Information Director at Southern Arkansas University, joined alongside Graduate Assistant Sports Information Director Jordan Bergeron. And Jordan, another week into this season, another action-packed week. We had volleyball in action, women's golf, football, men's and women's cross country got back at it. So definitely a week that was full of action and excitement. We'll go ahead and we'll talk about volleyball and in the week that they had. It started off for them at first. They went to OBU on Tuesday, a pivotal conference match, and then came back home on Friday to take on Southern Nazarene, another pivotal conference match. There aren't many that aren't pivotal at this point in the year. Talk a little bit about the volleyball team, starting with Tuesday at OBU.
Yeah, at OBU, 3 of the last 4 matches against OBU have gone to 5 sets. So I believe they have a little rivalry brewing with OBU. It's an in-state school. It's one of the closest schools here. But that match, Manji, she had 17 kills, but the story of the match was Logan Tolbert. She had a career-high 18 kills. She swung a 556. Unfortunately, the Lady Murals fell in 5 sets, with 15-12 being the final score in the 5th set.
Talk a little bit about that 5th set, because obviously once you get to 5, it's 2-2 in the match. And then it's first one, I think, to after 7 maybe, then they swap sides. Talk a little bit maybe about some momentum swings in that 5th set.
Yeah, well, of course, they had a few momentum swings in that set, and I want to talk about the consistency of a few players, in particular Shelby Lauterbach. She's really been picking it up as of late. I love the way she's swinging right now, Shelby Lauterbach, but it takes consistency to be good at this level on a consistent basis, I guess. The first 2 sets, Shelby swung over 300, but in the last 3, she swung in the negatives. So I'm sure Coach Grimm would like to see more consistency from his attackers.
You know, and it was an opportunity, I think, for the Lady Mule Riders. They not necessarily had the match circled on the calendar, but after taking on OBU, the first conference match of the year at home, that one going to 5 sets as well. They had revenge on their mind, unfortunately. Went 5 sets again. Like you said, those 2 teams seemed to do nothing but play 5 sets, and so very competitive, even though they came up on the short end of that match. But then talk about Friday, Southern Nazarene coming in and playing the Lady Mule Riders.
Well, you talk about a big momentum swing, and the Lady Mule Riders jumped out to a 6-0 lead in the first set, and unfortunately, Southern Naz came back to win the set quite handily, 25-15. So I talked earlier this season to several of the girls and Coach Grimm, and he said, look, we got to start out faster, but this match was a different scenario. They started out fast, and they ended up, Southern Naz is a great volleyball team. You know, they're top 4, top 5 in the conference, and they showed it. They swung over 300, and they had 11 blocks against the Lady Mule Riders, and it's tough to beat a top 4 conference team whenever they swing over 300 and they have 11 blocks against you, and you only have 4 blocks against them. But again, it was Manji who led with 15 kills, and Logan Tolbert again was in double-digit kills. So I'm sure Coach Grimm loves to see Tolbert turn it around this late in the season.
You know, and even though throughout the week, the 2 losses, but there was some really good news that came out of that at the end. The way the rest of the conference is shaken out to that point, Lady Mule Riders have already clinched a spot into the conference tournament, so they're going to be one of the top 8 eligible teams to go to the conference tournament. So obviously right now playing for seeding more or less, trying to get, maybe a little more so towards the middle of the conference pack. Might be a little bit too difficult to get to the top tier, but still positioning themselves. So talk a little bit about maybe at this point of the year, knowing you're in the conference tournament and how that's going to affect play the rest of the way.
That's correct. Well, Arkansas Tech is almost a lock for first at this point, but from then on, it's really a shake-up, because I mean, we've seen it in this conference. Even when East Central and Henderson lost this weekend to knock themselves out of the conference tournament, they lost in 5 sets. So, this conference really has a lot of parity in it. So once it gets to the conference tournament, I'm really excited that we get to go to the conference tournament and we get to experience the conference, because I really have no idea who's going to win. But as for the Lady Mule Riders, the best scenario for them would be to win out at this point. Obviously, you want to go into that conference tournament. It looks like they'll be the 4th or 5th seed, depending on how they finish out. They could even be 6th. That would probably be maybe the worst scenario, but maybe not, because the 6th seed gets matched up with the 3rd seed in the first round. But in the second round, you won't have to face that number 1 seed if you win. So those are a few scenarios for the Lady Mule Riders at this point.
And kind of looking ahead to this week, only 1 conference match for the Lady Mule Riders, but they have 2 matches at home. Their final 2 matches at home, starting first with a big match tomorrow against Harding, Pink Out Night, and then following up on Thursday for Senior Day. Talk a little bit about those 2 matches for a preview.
Yeah, well, Harding, we went to Harding earlier this year, and we were swept in 3 sets, but they were all close sets. They were all in the 20s. Lady Mule Riders scored in the 20s each set. Harding is a very, very good team in this conference. they're a top 3 team. So, I think it's about consistency. Like we've said before, they'll have to play a consistent game. They'll have to. Coach Grimm has been preaching to serve aggressively, so they'll continue to serve aggressively. And I think it's a lot about the block. They have to match Harding with blocking. And, I anticipate Monji to have another great week, going out on our home court. And on Thursday, we move into Texas College, an NAIA team, a winnable game for the Lady Marauders. But, it's going to be great to see those seniors go out like they should. I hope they end up with a win. But Monji and Gaynor are 2 incredible players and 2 incredible people. So I'm really proud of them and their accomplishments thus far.
Yeah, always, senior days are always they're fun from the aspect of knowing that seniors are going to close out their careers, hopefully on a high note. But then when you look back and reflect on it, obviously you reminisce, and those 2 will be greatly missed in the coming years. But they've helped lay the foundation for Lady Mule Riders as they stand now and moving forward. Shifting a little bit to men's and women's cross country, they got back in competitive action this week. Went to another pretty tough event, Division I laced UALR Invitational, but there were several D2 teams within the region that participated in that as well. Both the men's and women's had good showings. How'd they do?
Yeah, they actually finished second in the Division II fields, and it was Carly Langley, again, a name we've heard all season long. She finished second in the overall race, and the only person that beat her was a Division I runner. And Virginia Ney ended up finishing 8th in the women's field, so they led their squad to a second place finish. But I'll quote Coach Service. He said this was probably the best overall performance by a men's cross country team in SAU history. So Chris Wallace, he finished 5th in the men's race overall, and the only 4 runners who beat him were also Division I runners, all from host Arkansas Little Rock. He ran a personal best 25-27. He was first among Division II runners. He also led his squad to a second place finish. So a great showing for the cross country teams moving into this GAC preview this weekend.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that, because it was originally supposed to be hosted by Northwestern Oklahoma in Enid, Oklahoma. Some scheduling conflicts with facilities. They wound up having to move it to East Central, so it's going to be hosted in Ada, Oklahoma. They're able to get a preview on that course, but championships were held there in 2012. So some of the runners for both men and women are familiar with that course, but talk a little bit about maybe what we can anticipate going into that preview match.
That's correct. Well, some construction issues ended up shifting the championships into Ada, and we talked to Coach Service, and he said what you said about 2012. A few runners are familiar with the course, specifically Carly Langley, Virginia Nye, and she will, and they have a few players who are very familiar with the course. But moving into it, I think this weekend was huge for both squads to have such a strong showing. Going into the GAC preview, building their confidence, and they also had, Harding was at the UALR, and I believe Arkansas Tech was as well. So this weekend will be a good test for them to see where they are moving into the GAC championships, and after this weekend they get a break, and then it's the big run again in Ada.
Yeah, it appears that both the men's and women's cross-country teams have continued to build each and every single meet. They seem to be getting better, faster, more together, and particularly at the UALR meet, where you do know that a team like Harding is there, knowing where they were at, and obviously you can anticipate Harding to ramp it up also more so towards the end of the year, but to know that they're right there competitive with one of the perennial top teams in the Great American Conference in the region. Obviously a lot of confidence for both the men's and women's cross-country teams. Will be really excited to see how they fare in the GAC preview meet this upcoming weekend in Ada. Women's golf back in action. They were scheduled to play in a GAC preview tournament, that one in Oklahoma City. Monday and Tuesday was supposed to be the format, a 2-day tournament. Monday was washed away basically everywhere in the region. We had a lot of rain on Monday this past week. So they washed it out, wound up only playing one round on Tuesday, and so really a rain-shortened tournament. LA Lead led the Lady Mule Riders again. She shot an 83, tied for 23rd. The Lady Mule Riders as a team finished 8th out of, there were 10 teams that participated in that. And so, obviously, you'd like to see the scores get a little bit lower. You need to have a couple of golfers, each round, particularly because once the GAC championships come up, it's a 3-round tournament. So consistency is the key there, but you want to start seeing some scores in the 70s, upper 70s, maybe threatening 75, 73, and getting towards towards par, because those are the types of scores that are going to really elevate a team as far as their standings, in not only as a team but individually. And so with the Lady Mule Riders out there continuing to work, and obviously don't know what the playing conditions may have been. You consider it a full day of rain, but golf courses usually do drain very well. Golf courses are just incredible with that type of stuff, but still, so some conditions could have played a factor in that. But good to see them still getting out there and competing and getting a chance to see the course before you have to go out and do it, because most of the time in a tournament they'll get that practice round on a Sunday and have to ramp it up and go for real on Monday and Tuesday. But then also this weekend we had a football game at home, technically the last home game of the year against Southern Nazarene University. It was homecoming and Hall of Fame. A lot of activities going on campus. Campus was buzzing. Mule gating from our standpoint at the stadium looked like it was outstanding. Great crowd. The home side was packed in. A lot of former players, athletes, just alumni in general were back. So it was a great atmosphere on campus, and Mule Riders were able to put together an all-around great performance in front of the home crowd, so they went home happy for sure.
Yeah, DeAndre Jenkins, I think he took the first play from scrimmage for a touchdown.
Yeah, 39 yards, first play on a run. He got free, and they actually scored the Mule Riders' first 2 touchdowns. And he caught a touchdown pass, had 2 rushing touchdowns, and also too on the offensive side, DeAndre Jenkins ran for over 100 yards. Deion Williams also did as well. And that's the first time since 2005 that the Mule Riders have had 2 rushers rush for over 100 yards in the same game. So obviously the Mule Riders were able to do a lot of things well offensively, over 600 yards of total offense. But really the big story and the one that jumps out at you is on defense. Mule Riders only allowed Southern Nazarene 88 yards of total offense, 25 of which were on the ground. And so obviously not an offensive juggernaut, Southern Nazarene. But still, to put up those types of numbers with a team that's running the ball over 30 times, and a lot of that was due to some sacks, some negative yardage on rush plays, and the Mule Rider defensive line did a very good job being active, getting into the backfield and disrupting plays all afternoon long. One of the defensive standouts was James Thurston, safety for the Mule Riders. He had 7 tackles, tied for the team lead. Recovered a fumble in the end zone for a touchdown, his defensive score for Southern Arkansas. And he also had a tackle for lost yardage. And so overall, it was a very good win for the Mule Riders. I think it was one going in that they thought it could end up that way, but it was really good to see it end up that way. Able to put up some big numbers, particularly going into their bye week. Chance to get healthy for the remaining 3 games of their season and their big games. They sit there right now 4-3. Trying to again finish over 500 in order to do so. Got to win 2 out of the next 3 games, but their next 3 games are going to be some very tough games. You got Ouachita Baptist November 1st at OBU. They're a team that just came off of beating Harding in dramatic fashion in overtime, and then you go play Henderson State, top 5 team in the country at a neutral site. And then close out the year at Arkansas Monticello, a rivalry game, battle of the Timberlands there. And so no easy games left on the Mule Riders schedule, but they have a week to rest up and prepare and kind of focus on the last 3 games and hopefully finish out the 2014 season on a very, very high note. So that was basically the week that was, and the week that's coming up, a lot of stuff again going on around campus. Some stuff obviously off campus, road games and whatnot. But be sure to check MuleRiderAthletics.com. We'll have your full game previews with live links, so you can keep up with the Mule Riders if they're on the road, but also too if they're at home. We got live links as well. Live video and live stats are available for all of our home contests. And Jordan, we appreciate the hard week of work as well. I'm looking forward to another one. Appreciate it.